So, hello everybody. uh, we welcome very warmly.
Wait.
Wait, not yet. Just let me know, please. All right.
Okay, we're on.
All right. So, welcome very warmly, Ajahn Brahm. Today, welcome everyone. We are very happy to have you today, Ajahn, and to just be with you today. Let me say a few words about how important Ajahn Brahm is for us. Because for many of us, the whole path and the journey with Buddhism started with Ajahn Brahm and the YouTube channel that we just heard the Dhamma talks that were so funny and so nice and so warm for the heart and made us very happy and positive people that inspired us to follow the Buddhist path. And the biggest example for that is that today it's almost 3,000 people. So we are so happy to have you here as a Polish early Buddhist society and as a whole community of the believers. So we are very happy, we're very proud, and we are very thankful that you're with us. We would like to, before I give the voice to Ajahn Brahm, also mention about the crowdfunding on the Worldly Buddhist Conference that will take place in Krakow this year, because we organized the conference, but we still need some money. So we really recommend everyone to share the information on the crowdfunding, because for us it's important to organize it and to invite all the monks, because it's not only important for us as Buddhists, but also for monks, and I think for all over the world, that the conference will take place, and we'll just invite you to share the information that you can that is a crowdfunding organized. All right. So today plan is the short meditation around 20-30 minutes, then the Dhamma talk. Of course, there is a topic, but Ajahn Brahm will decide on what he's going to talk about. The topic of today's talk is: Can mango trees bear fruits in Poland? After the Dhamma talk, there's going to be a Q&A session, and that's the plan for the day. So I give the voice to Ajahn Brahm.
Thank you, and to everybody in Poland, dziękuję. That's the amount of Polish which I know, no more than that. But anyway, thank you for listening, and also thank you for being so open about the time, and also even the crowdfunding. It's always a nasty thing for a monk who doesn't have any money at all. Honestly, I don't own a cent. And recently, I like going off on tangents, on stories which, why do I say these stories? Because they mean something for me. That this is going to be my 75th birthday soon, and I call that not 75 years, but 900 months. 900 sounds much better than 75. And so already they said, you should say something about your will. Have you got any assets? And I don't have any assets. I've got no funds in the bank anywhere in the world. I don't have any investment, I don't have anything valuable which I own. And then one of our secretaries said, Ajahn Brahm, that's not quite accurate. Said, because I travel around the world so much, I've got many frequent flyers points on aircraft and airlines. So if you don't want them, can I have them, please? Can you bequeath your frequent flyer points? And there's always something in this world where you have something which is of value. All the books and stuff which I've written, they've all been given away for free. And everything else I have, it's all given away for free. And that's one thing which you can give, is whatever you have. So now, because when I go over to Poland, that's increasing my store of frequent flyer points. Even my secretary over there has noticed that, and she asks, can I be the first one to take your frequent flyer points when eventually you pass away? Because I do pass away someday. But anyway, so look, it's wonderful that you are gathering enough funds to be able to hold this conference over in Krakow. And when you do, I will be there. And thank you all sincerely for helping out. Now try to go to the interesting business of the meditation practice. In the meditation practice, it's opposite to what I've just said, because in meditation, you don't try and accumulate things. Your job is to let things go. It's going in a totally opposite direction. I'm just picking up something. This over here is, just so you can see where it comes from, it's a gong. And this thing over here, what is it, which I'm holding? It's actually the stick which I use to bang the gong. But it's not just the stick. The longer I hold it, even it's quite light, the longer I hold it, the heavier it feels. And if you keep holding something, anything, for a long period of time, it tires you out. So the job of meditation is learning how to let things go, to put them down, to renounce them. You don't have to carry them. Now I'm kind of free of holding anything. This hand too, not holding anything. It's nice and light. And all the things which you have in your life, how many things do you hold and keep holding? That's why the life can get sometimes tiring. And not just tiring, but even cause you sickness. So in the meditation I'm about to teach, it's learning how to put things down, to let things go. As you know, I was a student of Ajahn Chah for 9 years. And when I was with him, one of the things he stated, which made a huge difference in my practice of meditation, was he said that we meditate in order to let go of things, not to gain things. You never measure your success in meditation by how many more things you gain, but how many things you've let go of, by how many things you are free of. It's an act of renunciation. And don't worry that, okay, you live in the lay world, you may have a husband, a wife, kids, grandparents you have to look after. You never have to look after them 24/7, 24 hours a day. Sometimes you can let go, relax, renounce, have some peace in your life. And the effect of that is huge, as I will now try and demonstrate for you. So it doesn't matter where you are, either in Poland or any other country in the world right now. Wherever you are, see if you can just be here. Don't think you want to be somewhere else. Just be here in this moment. And I already see that a few people are just getting themselves comfortable, which is brilliant. When somebody asks me, how should you sit? What should your posture be? That's not important to describe what it looks like. What is important is to know how it feels like. Are you really comfortable? And the meditation I will do, a short meditation, I will use mostly like body awareness for you, and to see how powerful that can be. I am now also going to close my eyes, and when I am closing my eyes, I become aware of how I am sitting. I teach this so much, I don't pay too much mindfulness onto my speech. My speech is not the center of my attention. The center of my attention is the feelings of my body. So I'm sitting on a chair. I start by being aware of the feelings in my feet. They're the furthest from my head. And as a Westerner, I've noticed we spend so much time on our head that I like to start my mindfulness serenity practice by going as far from the head as I can. Now I feel my feet. What do they feel like? I'm just describing how I feel at this moment. My 2 feet, one on top of the other, that's not comfortable for me, so I'm now going to move them. So my feet are more comfortable now than they were a few minutes ago. But I stay with my feet, my awareness on my feet, and I know that I can relax every part of my feet, every toe. I notice that my feet are on the carpet of this little studio where I'm giving this talk. And when I have my feet on this carpet, I will move them until I can feel the sensation of the carpet and the skin of my feet more fully, and to make sure it is comfortable. And what happens, because my mindfulness is pretty good, I can feel the carpet and it's so pleasant. Just the carpet and my feet in contact together. It's so pleasant. I don't want to move any further, because this is a nice abiding. I'm not trying to attain anything, just trying to relax things, so even the feeling of my feet disappears. And then once everything is peaceful down at my feet, I move my attention up to my ankles. Some of you may have done this before. It's called like a sweeping meditation of your bodily feelings. And I won't go past my feet until they're really relaxed and they feel very, very pleasant. I don't follow any instructions on how my feet should be positioned. I just feel how they are. And if they're comfortable, my mindfulness tells me. And so I can move further away. I go to my ankles now. When I'm aware of the ankles in my body, I too relax them. I don't have any injuries on my ankles, so I can just feel the sensations in my ankles. I've been doing this for so many years. I know just their ankle feelings, and it's comfortable, relaxed, peaceful. I don't need to move them, don't need to massage them. They're just fine how they are. And I move my attention up to the calves of my 2 legs. And they have a totally different feeling than the feet and the ankles. I've done this meditation for so many years that I can recognize that's calves of my legs feeling. And I relax it. I relax the feeling in my calves so much it becomes pleasant too. You find if you relax things your own way, that it's very, very happy. And if it's pleasurable, the mindfulness becomes stronger and more easy. And it's a still pleasure. You don't move or do anything. You just notice and relax to the max. And right now, I'm being honest with you. My feet, my ankles, my calves and my legs, they're kind of really relaxed. And I go up a bit further to my knees. And as I'm experiencing any sensation in the knees, I imagine that many fluids and other bodily stuff pass through those knees. And if they are not relaxed and open, you can get some pain or soreness or injuries. So I imagine my knees just as conduits through which things can flow. And when they flow, the whole knees relax enormously. Even as a 75-year-old, I've had very few operations, especially on my legs or my knees. I've had no operations actually, because I know how to relax parts of the body, to heal any injuries naturally. And now my knees feel so comfortable. So I scan up my own body a bit further to the thighs, including the bones, the skin and all those muscles, relaxing as I go up. And as I relax, it's like the thighs start to tingle with relaxation. Just like if you've had a nice massage. Afterwards, every part of the body which has been massaged starts to relax and tingle. And it's one of the reasons why that's a very popular therapy for people. And then I go to my butt, my buttocks. And then they carry the weight of my body through the skin of my buttocks onto the chair. And I can feel that pressure, but I just make sure that that pressure is balanced, so it's not overly on one side or the other. Because when it's balanced, it doesn't change, and soon that feeling of pressure vanishes. It's the nature of the brain only to notice things which are extraordinary, too much ache or pain on one side. If it's just normal ache or pain, that vanishes after a few minutes. The brain turns off because it's not important to the brain. It's not a danger to the body. And I find I've actually relaxed the whole of my legs from the bottom down. And that means it's a nice position to start the meditation. And I look at my waist. I like to sit when I meditate rather than lay down, but if you need to lay down, that's fine. Just make sure you're still relaxing the body so it doesn't need to be moved. It gets into an optimum position. And then I feel the waist. And years ago I did have a back injury, and I noticed the position of my waist. Many weeks of mindfulness of my back, then the position of the waist, which is best for keeping the back and the torso comfortable. And when I can put my waist in that position, then I scan upwards from my waist, up my own body. And as I scan upwards, I never expect anything. If I see any part of my own body which is painful or uncomfortable, I will pause there and relax. That's all I do, just relax it. And sometimes, if there's any part of your body which is irritating you, which is unusual in the way it irritates you, that could be the beginning of a cancer. Don't worry about it. Instead, relax it. Pause and give that area of your body maximum loving kindness. Loving kindness means accepting, embracing, and give it the energy. It's just the body healing itself. I've done this with such success over the years that even today is Sunday. On Tuesday we have an annual visit from our local cancer support group. We've been coming every year for about 30 years now, and it works for them. They can relax away incipient cancers. So I scan the body, keep on moving it upwards, relaxing everything as I go. And I soon get to my intestines above the colon, and keep scanning upwards. And if I notice any feelings in the back, there's so many little organs in my back, I don't even know their name, but if I feel any irritation, I will simply pause there and give as much kindness as I possibly can to that part of my body which is asking for help. And as I go further upwards, I go to my stomach. And as I go to the stomach, how does that feel? As a monk, we don't eat in the afternoons, so it's been a long time since I had any lunch. So my stomach feels really relaxed, not hungry, but just comfortable. That allows me to go a little bit further up to my lungs. When I reach my lungs, one thing which I do suffer with is hay fever. It's like an irritation of the lungs at this time of the year, caused by the pollen of some flowers. But then I know how to relax my lungs, giving them so much kindness that they can be at ease. I don't need to breathe so much. I'm relaxing the body as I go up. Then I get to my heart region above the lungs. It's hard to feel my heart. I know it's there. I just give that whole region enormous amounts of loving kindness. So even the heart beats a little bit less fast. So everything settles down more and more and more. And above the heart, I go to my shoulders. And it's amazing to me just how often my shoulders are tense. They ache, and that's what they're doing now. So I'm going to move my hands, the end of my arms, to relax the tightness in my shoulders until every part of the shoulders doesn't feel it's holding any heavy weight. Everything starts to relax to the max. I won't stop relaxing my own shoulders until it gets to a point where the shoulders feel so not just comfortable but pleasantly comfortable, as they're doing right now. And I scan my attention down both arms, past the elbows, down the forearms, past the wrists, to the hands, and then lastly to the fingers. I'm not crazy. Sometimes I have a conversation with my fingers. I ask them, how are you down there? And today the answer is the fingers reply, fine, no need to move me today. But I make that request from them. Do you need to be moved? Today those fingers, we're fine. Just to ask, to care about your body. has huge results. Just the same if you have a partner in life you're close to. You ask them, how's your fingers today? How are your toes? And they will answer you. The very fact that you care about them is why you ask that question. And I do that to my own body. And my hands relax enormously. So from my shoulders down, my body has been deliberately relaxed to the max. It just leaves the head on top of the torso. So now I am aware of the muscles in the neck. They too are aching. I don't know why, but that's how they feel right now. So I'll move the head a little bit backwards, to the left, to the right, forward, until I can find the optimum place. I've got it now. My head is just bent a little bit backwards, and that feels so much more comfortable. It's like my neck is, please excuse the way I talk, I feel that my neck is thanking me for actually not just taking it for granted, but moving to get the optimum comfort. And then lastly, I look at my face. I feel the sensations there. A long time ago I realized if I'm afraid, anxious, kind, those emotions are played out on my facial muscles. You can tell how a person is by looking at their face. And I relax every part of my face. Relax the muscles around the eyes. The eyes are closed, but so comfortably. Around the mouth, that too is kind of closed, but not held tightly shut. Everything gets relaxed. And when I finish just with this part of the meditation, my body feels so at ease, so relaxed. I join everything together. The head, the arms, the fingers, the shoulders, the back, the torso, the bottom, the waist, and the legs and every toe. All together, relaxed to the max. I'm not making this up, I'm telling the truth. My body feels so at peace. It's not causing me any problems. That's how we learn to start the peace which is characteristic of meditation. It feels so pleasant. I've usually, over the last few years, always paused at this point to enjoy the comfort, the bodily comfort of meditation, the happiness of it. It does feel happy, really. And then, because what I'm experiencing is the happiness in this very moment, it's easy to go to the next part of meditation, staying in the present moment. Now is so nice. I'm being honest with you. The mind doesn't want to wander anywhere else. It just stays right here. Joy is the glue which keeps me present. And it gets so enjoyable in this moment. I'm being honest. So enjoyable that you don't want to disturb it by naming it, by going into all this thinking and conceptual business. I let it be. Just know the peace, know the relaxation, know the freedom. Not just my body is relaxed, actually it's disappearing now, but the mind feels so free. Normally I would just shut up at this point, be quiet, and just enjoy the stillness, the quietness, and the happiness it generates. I will be quiet for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm enjoying the happiness of peace, the happiness of a relaxed body. I know what caused it. Just let it be. No struggle, no strife. We're just being kind, little by little, and relaxing to the max. Been doing that over 50 years, so I'm pretty good at it. Enjoy it to the max. When you're ready, please open your eyes. Come out of your meditation. And I always like to give a smile. Can you get a smile? I can see a few people on the screen. At the end of each meditation, please smile. The happiness is natural, and the happiness was said to be not to be discarded by the Buddha. In one of the Buddha's teachings, he described the pleasures which you experience as a monk. You're not supposed to experience pleasures, so many people thought. But if it's pleasures of meditation, the Buddha said yes. Please enjoy them and indulge in them. He said if you indulge in the pleasures of meditation, there's only 4 possibilities for you. Only 4 things can happen. Either being a stream winner, a once returner, a non-returner, or fully enlightened. The 4 stages of enlightenment. This path is really pleasurable. And hopefully you can see that. I smile, I think. I'm not forcing it. It is natural. hope it's for each one of you as well. You get so much joy in this meditation. Oh yeah, it's not work. It's inviting me for half an hour to do what I always love doing. Just letting go and being free. Would you not you love to be free? No sort of burdens, even your family commitments, your work commitments, they all benefit as well. At the same time you feel no burdens on you at all, nothing you carry around. I love that, it's meditation, which is fun. Why do you think I've been a monk for so many years? I enjoy this job. And even I've been doing it for such a long time. Do you think I should apply to retire? No way. It's not work, it's doing what I really love doing. So anyhow, now I'm supposed to give a talk. Is that right? Yeah. So, I know the talk was supposed to be about mangoes. And do they grow do the mangoes fall over in Poland? But I would like to say more about the origin of that story. When I was 6 years as a monastic, I was travelling around the north of Thailand looking for a great place to practice. And where I went was in a little village up in the mountains. Please excuse me, but the main thing which attracted me to that village, it was in the middle of a tea plantation. And I think you all know how much English love their tea. I was in the middle of a plantation, the only monk there, as much tea as I could ever drink in my existence. But it wasn't just for the tea. There was a beautiful cave, a very deep cave, up in those mountains. And I would go in there after my one meal of the day in the morning and meditate in there all day until the evening. Then I'd come out and have a cup of tea. But one thing which I noticed in that cave, there were so many bats. They were really noisy when they flew in the morning, when they left in the evening. But during the daytime when I went in there, they were just asleep. That was their rest time. And my quiet time too. They never disturbed me. One thing I noticed because of that great number of bats in that cave, in the entrance to that cave, or just past the entrance outside, there was a papaya tree. I don't know if you like papaya. I don't mind papaya. But this first time in my life when some of the lay people, they gave me one of the papaya from that tree, it kind of blew my mind, if you know what that means. Because it was the sweetest, juiciest papaya I'd ever eaten in my whole life. And it was so sweet, I would always eat the whole lot. No matter how big that papaya was, I couldn't sort of stop until I finished it off. And the next day, they would get me another papaya. When I saw a papaya was ripening on that tree, I could not pick it myself, because that's one of our rules as monks. We have to just accept what we're given. But this particular papaya was so sweet, and I used to tell my main supporter in that monastery, that papaya, that looks like it's almost ripe. And they understood what I meant. It was just a monk's way of saying, can you please give me that papaya? So he would always take a stick and just get the papaya off the tree and eat it to me, give it to me. And for every day I would eat that papaya, and it was the juiciest, sweetest papaya I've ever had in my life. And why? It's all those bats. When they flew out at night to forage, they'd always poop over that papaya tree. Millions of them, a huge number of bats. And after they'd been foraging in the forest during the night time, they'd come back and they'd poop again over that papaya tree. I was smart enough to see the connection, all that poop and all those incredibly sweet, juicy flavors from that papaya. What I was eating was bat poo, transformed into delicious papaya. And because there was not that many papaya in Thailand which they'd offered to monks, I changed the story over to mangoes. If mangoes are fertilized by dog poo or any poo, they get so incredibly sweet. And you don't have to worry that you get an infection somewhere, because apparently any pathogens, they can't pass by the cell wall of those beautiful fruits. They just become more juicy, more sweet. And I don't know if you like mango or papaya, but some of that tropical fruit was incredibly sweet and so natural and so delicious. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry, but I just ate the whole thing. I could never leave any. I was only monk in that monastery, so, others had enough mango if they wanted to find another tree somewhere to get it. But it was telling me something, a beautiful simile, about why do we judge, beings like bats. Bats, when they poop on something, later on, if it's a papaya or a mango, please, you taste that mango when it's ripe. And it really does taste so juicy. And that's why in that story with the mango, and I like mangoes, when you eat them, you can't believe how sweet and juicy, how healthy that mango is. And when you do taste it, it's so juicy, the juice runs down your cheek. And in my stories I always say, always remember that what you're eating, what is actually dripping down your cheek? It is bat poo, transformed into the juiciest, sweetest mango you've ever had. That's actually how we take some of the difficulties in our life. We know how to allow it to fertilize, to allow it to grow, to allow it to teach us that even the most suffering of your life can be the most juiciest and sweetest. And that's where that simile came from. I transformed it to mangoes and dog poo. Do any of you in Poland eat dog poo? Yes, you do. You transform it into juicy fruit. It fertilizes it. And what you think is disgusting, what no right person would ever eat, you're eating it transformed into juicy sweet mango which drips down your cheek. This is one of the reasons why. Can we transform nearly all points of suffering, all difficulties, in something so juicy, so sweet? Sometimes it's learning to see another part of life, the part of life which is beautiful, which is joyful. I don't know how much suffering you've seen in your life, but sometimes, even as a monk, people ask you to please come to them when they're sick, and you visit them in hospital, and you see these poor people in hospital. I can't, because most of you are ladies I'm looking at now, I can't forget our secretary many years ago of our Buddhist society in West Australia. She called me and she said she's in hospital, she's had an operation, can I please come and cheer her up? And I said, what was the operation? She said, it's a hysterectomy. And for a woman that means that's the end of your possibility of having kids. And she said psychologically it was really sort of hurting her. But more than that, she said, I know your character, Ajahn Brahm, so please don't tell me any jokes. I got this big wound on my chest, where they did the hysterectomy, and it hasn't healed yet. It's very painful. If you tell one of your silly jokes and I laugh, it's going to really hurt more than usual. And when I went to see her, I told her, look, you know my character. I can't help it. So I told some of the jokes. It's like I couldn't help it. And she said it did hurt a little bit, but thank you for telling those jokes, because that cheered her up. Her mind was much more powerful than she ever thought. And that little bit of happiness is what really helped more than anything else. People do have suffering in their lives. Well, can you actually cheer them up? Even though painfully it hurts a little bit. But she didn't actually send me out of the room. She said, when can you come back again? Even though she was a bit sore afterwards where she was laughing. But you know what happens with human beings? Sometimes we worry far too much about our body and never really consider what's behind our body, our mind. If you have some happiness, how much physical pain can that overcome? Enormous amounts. You wouldn't believe how much it can overcome. And to this day, whenever I have any sickness, I have not been in, actually I have been in hospital many times to visit others, but never actually been sleeping in the bed myself. But one thing which I do know, when you do go into hospitals, sometimes, look, there was this one guy, he was English, he had been a smoker all his life, and he was in the hospice. A hospice is a place where you go to die. It's usually just a one way in a stretcher, out in the morgue stretcher. You go there to be buried. It's only a one-way street there. But this guy, he had such bad cancer, lung cancer. He was struggling even to breathe. And he told me, I saw him the first day, and that first day in the evening, the nurse asked him, he said, what do you want for dinner tonight? And that's when this poor man said, well, look, I can't have anything oily because I got high cholesterol. I can't have anything sweet. I've got very strong diabetes. I can't even have anything salty, because my arteries are hardened. And that's when the nurse interrupted him. Ted, you're not going to die of a heart attack. You're not going to die because of high cholesterol or because you've got strong diabetes or you haven't got enough, you've got too much salt caking your arteries. You're going to die of the cancer in about 3 days. You can eat whatever you want. And those words from a nurse, I can eat whatever I want? Yes, the cancer's going to kill you, not the diabetes. As much sugary as you want. And so Ted, really? And I know Ted, he told me, he never informed his wife what the nurse told him. He said, because my wife would always refuse making this food for me. And so he had all the foodstuffs he was never allowed to eat for weeks, or months actually. And he had all this oily, sweet, juicy food. And he went into remission. And he actually walked out of that hospice where he's supposed to go out in the stretcher to the morgue. He went into remission because of that. I love telling that story. You know why? is because the happiness of even doing things like eating what you like is therapeutic for you. It put him into remission. He did die eventually. Another 6 months he went back into the hospice. But he had an extra 6 months of happy, healthy life before he went in there to die. He was old. But nevertheless, it's a kind of an interesting phenomena. The happiness which you have does affect your health enormously. You want to live, you want to have fun, you want to enjoy. That's why one of the stories I love telling is of not going to hospital, but one of the difficulties monks have, one of the problems we have to be aware of, is food poisoning. And the reason that that is a danger to monastics is that we don't know what goes into the food. We never cook it. Other people cook it, and there's so many people cooking it, and they put all sorts of things into the food, and well, that looks nice. We don't really know. We put it into our bowls, and it all gets mixed up, and we eat it. And on this one occasion, I remember I finished my meal, and once I'd finished the meal, I went back to my place where I live, which is a cave. I love caves. The reason I love caves is I can hide in them. No one can see me. I can get some nice meditation, and no one knows. No one can see and disturb me. Lock both doors of the cave. When I went into my cave to meditate, that's when you could feel there was something wrong with my tummy. Seriously wrong. Food poisoning. Have you had food poisoning before? What it feels like? Had these spasms of pain. It's really strong pain. They were so strong that I couldn't resist. Every few, no, maybe every minute. So screaming out, ah! And it really hurt. Ah! Because I had no windows in the caves, no one could hear me. It's really, I live in that cave, so I can't hear anybody else. But sometimes the noise is actually coming from me and I can't stop it. Ah! I had this food poisoning. And you had a decision to make. Okay, should I crawl outside and disturb everybody, go through 2 doors? The nearest phone from my cave is maybe 100 meters away, 80 meters. And even then somebody else might be on it. And I go outside, ah! And I say, can you wait a moment? I'm calling my mum. Ah! Because there's many monks live in the monastery. We've only got 1 or 2 phones. So I thought, nah, no need to go and ask for some help. Let's cure it myself. That's what I teach others. I'm not a hypocrite. So I decided to use meditation. It's really easy to do. You're just sitting there, and every now and again, you knew every minute or 2, you have a spasm of pain, and I just watched it. Got nothing else to do. You have to watch it. It wasn't heroic or anything. It was just natural. And so I watched the pain. You can see it coming. As a monk, I've got good mindfulness. You can kind of slow things down, see it in slow motion. I'm trying to sort of exaggerate what I did, but that's what I roughly did. And I noticed, because I wasn't afraid, because I was relaxing, I knew how to relax, the pain was a slightly bit less. I was a mathematician at university, so it was about 95% of what it was last time. It was easing off. And it took me half an hour. To this day I can't remember 40 minutes or half an hour, but roughly that time. After half an hour was the last spasm of pain. You relaxed it so much that the pain disappeared. And that was the end of that sort of painful episode of food poisoning. And I was a scientist before I was a monk, theoretical physicist, but I also remember looking through microscopes at what these bacteria look like. And what I remember them as is little blobs with tentacles coming out. And I thought, what could have happened? I never took any medication, never took anything. I just meditated, and after half an hour there was no more pain. I thought, my theory, it's only a theory, it wasn't tested. My theory was those little blobs of the bacteria were still there, but now they had all their tentacles cross-legged, sitting quietly in my tummy, not causing any problem. I taught those bacteria how to meditate. You can live in my tummy, but just don't cause any trouble. I'm not sure if that was never proved. That's my theory. Probably totally wrong. But the best part was there's no more pain. Do you experience pain? What do you do when you have painful experiences? Can you go towards the pain instead of running away from it? Relax the body. It's kind of an acceptance, but I've always found it works. Making peace with pain is just another type of feeling. And after a while, not that long, the main part of the pain, which is our rejection of it, the way our mind tries to get rid of it, that disappears. And then you're really, really peaceful. And also inspired. Honestly, this is how, you can deal with such things in such a beautiful way without relying on drugs or medication or ambulances or anything. You can learn how to be really, really healthy. You feel your body, you live in it. As a monk, I live in it every day, obviously. And you get to know it so well. So I understand my body, how it works, and make sure that I have some procedures I can do if ever it gets sick. I know what to do. And it makes it easier to stay healthy when you do know how to relax and not to worry about things. Because I travel around so much, I do remember the simile of seeing people at airports with really heavy bags to carry. I haven't got it here. Oh, it's over there on the table. Can you just bring me my little bag over there? This is my luggage. When you see me coming to Poland in November, this is my baggage. All of it. And so, okay, see? Okay, not that big. So when I go through the customs, they say, "Where's your baggage, sir?" I say, "This is it." And I'm honest. Every time I go anywhere, this is it. And so I have some nice fun with the baggage controllers and checkers. I remember the one in Perth once asked me, said, "What have you got in that bag? Have you got any gels?" And what do you mean? He said, "Like hair gel." And I said, "Oh, come off it. I have a bald head. What do I need hair gel for?" And all the people queued behind me burst out laughing. And that poor officer got so embarrassed. He said, "I'll get out of here." And so many of those officers, that's what they say to me when I go through the customs in Perth, "Get out of here." They know that, I'm not carrying anything, just the ordinary stuff, just to survive for another day. And it makes life so much easier. And it's also, you don't need medications. What medications do I take? Water, tea, that's about it. So it's nice and easy being a monk. I know kind of how to relax. You feel the body, just like in that meditation. And you can really know how to relax to the max. You feel so at ease. Oh yeah, anyway, those in the airport, saw two people carrying these two suitcases. And I thought, wow, why are they carrying them around for such a long time? And that's why I mentioned that in the meditation, if you can recall it, to say, imagine you're carrying two heavy suitcases and you've been carrying them way too long. What is in those two suitcases? Suitcase in the left hand is your past. Where you've come from, all the things you've done, all the things you've enjoyed, all your successes as well. But we usually put the problems in our suitcases and we're carrying them around with us almost all the time. There's a bit of space there for your successes in the past. And in the other suitcase in your right hand, that's all your successes. All the amazing things you've done in your life. Can you think of them now? Maybe having some beautiful kids which you adore and love, and they're really successful, they love you back. Or, your things you've achieved in life, the successes you've had at universities and teaching others, building up things. The successes you've had organising conferences in Krakow. You've already got a long way there. You feel those successes, can't you celebrate them? Instead of just always focusing on the past failures. Anyway, you have those future, which is we carry around all the time. Why can't we imagine carrying those two suitcases? And you lean to the left. Allows you to put the left-hand suitcase on the ground. And when that suitcase meets the floor, all the weight vanishes. You're free, it's light. You can then take your hand away from the suitcase to relax it. Each one of you have been carrying things around with you for such a long time. Each one of you, can't you just put it down for 5 minutes to get your arm and hand and shoulder comfortable again? And the suitcase in the right hand, your future. Can you lean to the right? Allows you to put that suitcase down to the floor. And when that meets the ground, there's no weight. You let go of things. They don't disappear. They're right there next to you. For 15 or 20 minutes, no one will take them away. Afterwards, when you've relaxed and strong again, you can pick them up. And have you ever noticed when you pick them up again, they always feel so much lighter? It's the same weight in the suitcases, but you've rested. You haven't carried them. That's why they're lighter. So this is actually how we deal with heavy suitcases. The past is not to be learnt from. You learn much more from the present than you ever learn from the past. And the future is not to be planned, but to be enjoyed. Surprise is the future. And that way you live a much happier life. Honestly, the monks which I knew, the ones which impressed me, they did not impress me so much with their wisdom. They impressed me with their happiness. Their ability, nothing affected them. Every time that somebody tried to upset an Ajahn Chah, trying to offend him, telling him bad stories, he would just burst out laughing. He thought criticism was so funny. If someone criticized you, would you burst out laughing? Try it. It works. They get really confused. Hey, I just criticized you. I was offending you. Why didn't you react? Why? I'm not going to add to the pain of life. I'm going to try and relieve it. Can you laugh just because you want to? I don't know, you should actually inform me. Is laughter illegal in Poland? It is? No, not. Okay, great. Excellent. So why can't we just be happy with people and laugh with them? It really confuses them. It's a beautiful thing to do. So anyway, how long have I been talking for? Is it 7 hours up yet? I was told I have 7 hours to talk. Okay, let's keep on going for a bit longer. So anyway, yeah, okay. So all of these attitudes you have, it's so easier to laugh. And honestly, you can't get offended. You know, sometimes I ask people, can you try and offend me, please? And they say, oh, you tell too many funny stories. You should be more serious, Ajahn Brahm. Don't tell so many jokes. And this life is so tough. Come on. That's just who I am. If I go to, when I get to Poland, I will tell many funny stories, because that's what Ajahn Chah used to do. And it's nice, the humour which you hear in life. Okay, that's an opportunity to tell a funny story. One of those funny... Can I tell a funny story? Is that allowable? Okay. A funny story of... What's that? That's the one about... about the rabbit, the bear, and the holy duck. The magic duck. So in a forest, could have been in Poland, this bear was chasing this little rabbit, and they were making so much noise that when he chased the bear past this lake, there was a magic duck living in the lake. And the magic duck said, "Can you please be quiet? This is a forest. I enjoy the peace here." He said, "Why? It's our exercise. We love doing this, chasing each other." And then the magic duck said, "Look, if you stop chasing each other so it's quiet again, I'm a magic duck. I can give you 3 wishes each." So the bear looked at the duck looked at the bear, and they agreed. So the bear and the rabbit looked at each other, and they agreed. So Mr. Bear said, "My first wish." Okay, the bear was a male, okay. Not all males are like this. But the bear said, "If I had a wish, I wish for all the other bears in the forest are female, and I'm the only male bear. I get too tired to go chasing little rabbits around the place." And so, "Quack," said the duck. And so the bear noticed that all the other bears in the whole forest were now all female. He was the only male. Number 2, Mr. Rabbit, what's your first wish? And Mr. Rabbit said, "My first wish is having a motorbike helmet. You know, like a Harley Davidson insignia on the helmet, with 2 holes in the back for my ears," said Mr. Rabbit. "Really, why do you want that?" "Look, it's none of your business why I want it," said the rabbit. "You gave me a wish, so you said you're going to give me a wish, so please give me the wish." So quack, and Mr. Rabbit had this beautiful motorbike helmet on his head. Still didn't understand why. But then they asked Mr. Bear, "What's your second wish?" And Mr. Bear said, "Look, once all the other bears in the whole country hear that there's only female bears in this forest, they'll all migrate here. So my second wish," I should have said it's my first wish, "is all the bears in the whole country are all female, I'm the only male bear. For all you ladies listening, that's what men are like. Is that true? Men? Okay. So anyway, quack, all the bears in the whole country were all female, and Mr. Bear was the only male. So then they asked the rabbit, what's your second wish? And the rabbit said, my second wish is a Harley-Davidson motorbike to go with my motorbike helmet. That should make sense to you. And sure, yeah, okay, I can understand that wish. So quack. And so Mr. Rabbit had his motorbike, 1,000 cc's, fully charged to match his helmet. Then they asked the bear, what's your third and final wish? And Mr. Bear said, I should have said this to begin with. Because once all the other bears, in the continent, you know what it's like being in Europe? Once all the Russian bears here, there's only female bears here. And once all the German bears here, there's only females in this nation. They'll all migrate and spoil my fun. May all the bears in the whole of Europe and next door, may they all be female, and I am the only male bear. Well, that's what you want, quack. And that's what happened. So he was the only male bear in the whole country, in the whole continent of Europe. Everyone else was female. And okay, he was very happy until he heard what's coming next. Mr. Rabbit, what's your third wish? And Mr. Rabbit, revving up the motorbike, said, my third wish is that Mr. Bear is gay. You got one. And vroom, 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 Mr. Rabbit sped away as fast as he could. And if you understand the law of karma and bad intentions lead to bad results, I think you can understand, why that is funny to most people. And not to bears, they don't like that joke at all. But anyhow, that's kind of some of the stories to expect from me when I get to Poland. Okay, so that's kind of the law of karma. You tell those stories in a funny way, that's what people remember. Sometimes after a talk, I would ask people, what do you remember from the talk I just gave? And it's usually the jokes. Of course, there's much more to the talk than the jokes, but nevertheless, they kind of stand out. And because they stand out, people remember what went before, what went after. It's a wonderful way of teaching, and it's an attractive way of teaching. How many times have you listened to talks by experts, and they're as boring as ever? So I can promise you, that's not going to happen if I go to Poland. It's going to be unexpected, happiness, joys, stories which you never expected before. And those are things which make you much, 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 much more happy. And you remember them more than anything else. Just the laughter is so therapeutic. Why not? So I do a lot of my life laughing. And also celebrating, seeing the funny side of life when it's painful, seeing the pleasant part of life, and just looking at that, and that gives you so much more energy and happiness in whatever you're doing. And you can actually relate to one another far more better. Make sense? Okay, so now is the opportunity for the Q&A. Is that okay?
Yes, that's okay. But before we do that, I think that we should do the sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, I'm going to listen to you and then tell you how to do the sadhus properly. Okay,
Alright.
off you go.
Yeah.
Sadhu.
Sadhu,
Sadhu.
sadhu,
Sadhu.
sadhu.
That's close. But how I ask you to do sadhus is give it some full energy. Sadhu. 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 Now, which one feels better? So
Yours
when you
better.
do the second one, yeah, and you really give it sort of everything you've got, and then that makes much more fun. And that's one of the reasons why I insist, if it's a nice talk, something useful for you, is 3 big sadhu, 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 followed by the 3 he's. Hee hee hee. Do people in Poland laugh a lot?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, excellent, great. So please laugh a lot. It makes you much healthier, happier, and other people like you more. Don't you like to cheer people up? Enough people in the world have been way too serious. And so I even try and make funny stories even when people get very sick. And that kind of heals them. That's why I still remember those story that was that American doctor who actually had made his patients laugh by doing silly things, and that was hugely therapeutic. What was his name again? You don't remember? Do you remember what his name was? They made a film about him. One of the problems, monks can't see films. So anyway, he did silly things to the patients, and that made them feel so much better that increased their health. Had a huge positive outcome. Even though he did... What's his name again? No. Okay. I've had a very busy weekend, but I can't remember his name yet, but I'll remember it in a few minutes. So right now, it's opportunity for Q&A. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, so
Vladek
go.
will read the questions. So I give the voice to Vladek.
I'm not sure that these are going to be not serious questions, but maybe. The first question is from Adam P-M1BJ. And the question is the claim that a Buddha teaches the Dhamma to the next future Buddha, as described in Gatikara Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 81, thus ensuring the continuity of the Dhamma transmission. Correct?
It's a lot of truth to that, but I only know the story of the present Buddha and the past Buddha, and that one is true, because that was where at one time our present Buddha, who's born as Siddhartha Gautama, was walking with Ananda, and he paused at one place and said that this was the place where Gatikara lived many, many years ago, many centuries ago, with the time of Kassapa the Buddha, the previous Buddha. And Bahia, I'm getting this right, this guy Bahia was a devout follower of Kassapa the Buddha. And Bahia had a best friend called Jyotipala. And Jyotipala didn't want to have anything to do with Kassapa, would always call him a shaven-headed good-for-nothing, demeaned him. And then Bahia always thought, if only, no, I'm saying this wrong. This was not Bahia's story, I'm getting confused there. Gatikara was this guy, His best friend was Jotipala, and they lived at the time of Kassapa the Buddha. And Gatikara said to Jotipala, come and visit this Kassapa. He's enlightened, he's a Buddha. He's worth talking with. And Jotipala, Gatikara's friend, said, no, I'm not interested. He's just a shaven-headed good-for-nothing. And so Gatikara eventually thought, if I can just trick, my best friend to see, Jotipala, to see Kassapa the Buddha, I'm sure he'll be impressed. And so he found all ways of tricks to try and get his friend Jotipala to see Kassapa, and eventually he succeeded. So his friend Jotipala went to see Kassapa the Buddha, and was so impressed that it was Jotipala said, I'm going to ordain and be a monk under this teacher. Whereas Gatikara said, I can't. I've got 2 blind parents I have to support. So Gatikara stayed looking after his blind parents while Jotipala ordained as a monk. And when that story was told in the Gatikara Sutta, it finishes off with the Buddha, who was telling the story to Ananda, saying, don't think that Jotipala was somebody else. Jotipala was me in my past life, the Buddha of this life. The Buddha of this life told in the Gatikara Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya of his previous life under Kassapa the Buddha. So there, the Buddha stayed with Kassapa the Buddha, our Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, stayed with him for many, many years. Then died and got reborn as Siddhartha Gautama. And that story, I love kind of these stories because they stick out to me. I'm looking for them and I recognize them. That when many beings went up to the newly enlightened Siddhartha Gautama, one of those was Gatikara, the newly reborn Gatikara, who was a non-returner, an anagami, and said to his old friend, Siddhartha Gautama, now the Buddha of our age, said, congratulations, we used to be friends in our previous life. I had to stay as a lay person to look after my parents. You followed my advice, and eventually, when you were reborn, you stayed with the Buddha Kassapa, and now you are the Buddha of our current generation, Siddhartha Gautama. So that's actually repeated in a couple of other places, which give it a lot of legitimacy for me. So that's true with Siddhartha Gautama. He was taught by Kassapa, the previous Buddha. So who's going to be the next Buddha? Does the Buddha have to be a woman or a man? What do you reckon?
Who knows?
Sorry?
Who
It can be
knows?
anybody. Exactly. Basically, now there is like a growing and strengthening female monastic community in the world. Why can't the next Buddha be a female? Why not? Would you respect her if she was confirmed to be fully enlightened Buddha, but she was female? Why on earth not? If you said no way, then you hadn't got any much understanding of what Buddhism is. It's not the gender which is important. It's the wisdom, the kindness, the generosity, all the spiritual qualities which are huge in the Buddha. So I don't mind going out there and saying the next Buddha could be a female. Could the next Buddha be Polish? Okay, you prove it. Get on the cushion, enlighten, ordain, and become the next Buddha. Is that possible? Prove it. Go for it. Yeah, go on. I don't mind saying that because I can argue with the strongest of people who think they know their suttas. Why not? Of course it can happen. We go beyond gender, beyond race. Why not? Okay, next question.
Next question. As I continue practicing Metta Bhavana,
Yeah?
as I continue practicing Metta Bhavana, I find myself becoming increasingly sensitive to the suffering of other living beings. This has created an inner conflict for me regarding the consumption of meat. How, in the light of the middle way, can we reconcile caring for the health and well-being of the human body with cultivating boundless loving kindness, which naturally recoils from eating sentient beings?
Okay, first of all, your loving kindness should always be balanced, not just to other sentient beings, but to yourself as well. Honestly, that I felt ashamed with what I did when I was still a lay person to a girlfriend at that time I had. You know, I wasn't born a monk, but this particular girlfriend, I can't understand why she forgot. She invited me out for dinner, she cooked it herself, and it had meat in it. You know what I did? I'm ashamed of this. That's why I like talking about it. It's almost like a penance. I refused to eat it. I said, you should have known better. And I walked out of her house, and that was the end of that relationship. I hurt her. And that was really unkind. My kindness was, just towards animals, sentient beings as you call them. And so I learned my lesson, and later on in life, I had to become a monk, and I was told by the monks who were going to ordain me, as a monk you have to live, without choice. And I said that sometimes you go on alms round and you get given meat. That's just you eat what the locals eat. And honestly, over in northeast Thailand, they ate some disgusting food. I already told about the frog story. One day that's all we had for our one meal a day. A big bowl of sticky rice with not really a frog, like a toad on top, a big frog, in the northeast of Thailand. We had one frog each on top of the rice. And you might think, well, you can make something tasty out of a frog if you have all the right sauces and stuff. There was no sauces, no salt, no chili, nothing. No garlic, just a frog which was like just boiled. It's one of the worst foods I've ever had. And the monk sitting next to me, he was a tough monk, but he never studied his biology when he was at school. So when you have something like a toad to eat, a big frog, and then you would start eating at the legs. But you can't just survive with just eating at the legs. So afterwards you go on the insides of the frog. And I remember my biology. I remember which part of all those organs inside was the bladder. The monk sitting next to me did not know what a bladder was. He hadn't done his studies. And he pressed that bladder. It still had urine in it. And the frog peed all over his rice. True story. He had to stop eating after that. That's the grossest food I've ever had. It never made me sick. It just made me disgusted. You try your very best, to eat what you can. But sometimes it's what the locals eat. They did not have vegetarian food in the northeast of Thailand when I was a young monk. And I was such a strict vegetarian when I was a layperson. I'd even break up relationships because of it. Just being honest with you. Have you ever eaten a frog? Please, before you eat the frog, make sure you know what the bladder is. That's a true story. Okay, next question.
Can I create a comic book about all your jokes? For example, about the carrot.
The cow?
The carrot.
Sorry. The carrot joke.
The carrot joke.
What was that one?
Well, the question doesn't state what that carrot is.
Maybe being like a vegetable or something like that.
I think the donkey and the carrot. I remember the story.
Oh, donkey and the carrot. Okay, that's not so much a joke. That is a very profound story.
Well, it's the carrot that had the accident one.
Another carrot who was a cause of the simile for the Enlightenment.
But
I think that's the best one, which is a beautiful story. It's a simile.
they want to make a, sorry for interrupting, they want to make a comic book out of it.
A comic book out of this one, I don't think you can make a comic book out of it. And the reason is, it's one of the most profound stories which I've managed to get together. How on earth, in the old days, I don't know, maybe in the rural parts, the country parts of Poland, in the old days, did they have donkey carts? Where the donkey would pull these old carts, to take the vegetables to the market. So a long time ago, well, actually everybody knows that donkeys are some of the most stubborn animals in the whole world. You can get a stick and try and hit the donkey to get it to pull the cart, and it refuses. That's why I know in English they sometimes call husbands as stubborn as a donkey. Do you have a similar comment to husbands in Poland? Do the same all over the world? But anyway, so the wise people realize that's not how you get a donkey to pull a cart. Instead, you tie the stick to the donkey's back. So the stick is 2 foot in front of the donkey's head. On the end of the stick, you tie a string, and on the end of the string, you tie a carrot. And so what happens, the donkey sees is a carrot right in front. So it moves towards the carrot. To move towards the carrot, it has to pull the cart. And as he pulls the cart, the stick on its back moves, the string moves, and the carrot moves. So the donkey is always 2 foot in front of the donkey's mouth. Does that make any sense to you? Because that's why you work in companies over in Poland. That's why your bosses make you work. They always hang a little carrot in front of you. And they say, you can see it, you can smell it, you can almost catch it, but it's always 2 foot in front of you. But it makes you pull the cart, and you pull the cart even harder and faster. But that carrot is always 2 foot in front of your head. You can never reach it. Or can you? They used to have donkey carts in Asia. But after the Buddha taught the Dhamma, the donkeys learned how to catch the carrots. How do donkeys catch the carrots? They run after that carrot as fast as they can. And then, doesn't matter how fast they ran, still the carrot is 2 foot in front of their mouth. Maybe 1 foot 6, maybe 2 foot 6, but roughly on average 2 foot in front of their mouth, no matter how hard they run. But then what does the donkey do to catch the carrot? The donkey suddenly stops. That's a great teaching of Buddhism. We learn how to stop. And when we stop, what happens to the carrot? Because of momentum, the carrot swings further away from the donkey until it goes about 4 foot in front of the donkey's mouth. The donkey doesn't do anything. That's the thing with meditation. Sometimes you teach meditation, it gets very peaceful, and you think, now I can do something. Never do anything. Relax to the max. Be still. Because the donkey knows how to be still, what happens to the carrot? The carrot starts swinging back towards the donkey. And soon that carrot is 2 foot in front of the donkey's mouth. It's normal place. But the first time ever, that carrot is swinging towards the donkey's mouth at top speed. And all the donkey needs to do is just be patient. That's the other thing which is hard to teach people. Please be patient. You can see it's coming, just wait. And soon that carrot swings up and up and up. It gets slow as it comes closer to your mouth, thank goodness. And after a while it gets so close to the mouth, all the donkey needs to remember is the words of loving kindness. It needs to say to that carrot, "Carrot, the door of my mouth is open to you." And that's how the donkey catches the carrot. If the donkey forgets the kindness, the carrot bounces off his teeth. And you see how big teeth that donkeys have. That's how the donkey catches the carrot. Okay, that's amusing. But the reason I said that story was not because it belongs in joke books, because it belongs in real life. That's how people get enlightened. You've done all the energy, the effort. Now stop. And let the carrot come towards you. It's wonderful when that happens. You think, that's how it's done. So incredibly easy. But people always think, no, I'm supposed to do something. I don't know any other carrot stories you mean.
It's like one where a carrot has an accident, like a car crash or something, and has to go to hospital.
That one. Okay. Do you want to know that one? Okay. No, it was quite a while since I said that one. But anyway, so once in the main street of Krakow, there was these 2 donkeys were just minding their own business when a drunk person driving a car, the car got out of control and then it sped up. It's a really silly joke, but you asked me for it, okay, so don't blame me. sped up onto the pavement where people are supposed to be walking, this is supposed to be safe, and hit one of the donkeys. And the other donkey saw the injury, and it was really serious. So straight away rang the emergency number on his phone. And an ambulance came within seconds, fortunately, and the ambulance worker took one look at this injured donkey and said, oh, this has got to go to hospital straight away. This is really serious. And so took the injured donkey in a stretcher into the ambulance, and the healthy donkey went with him. They were friends. And so they got to the hospital. Triage nurses took one look at the injured doctor and said, donkey, he said, this has to go to surgery straight away. So they took him into the operating theatre, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, your friend or your loved one is really sick and they have to do an operation. You have to wait in the waiting room. And this other donkey, the healthy one, was waiting in the waiting room for such a long time. And eventually the surgeon came in and he said, you must be the friend. I don't know how he recognized this donkey as a friend of the injured donkey. You must be the friend of the injured donkey. I've got some good news and bad news for you. And the good news is it took us a long time and a lot of surgery, but we managed to solve the worst of the problems. And Mr. Donkey is going to survive. He's going to live. The bad news, because of his injuries, he's going to be an animal for the rest of his life. Did you not understand that? Because of his injuries, he's not going to be able to talk or do things he normally does. He's going to be an animal for the rest of his life. I thought that was funny. It was only a joke. Did I tell that wrong? What is an animal for instance? An animal for the rest of his life?
But it's going to be a vegetable for the rest of
Oh yeah, a vegetable for the rest of its life.
Oh.
Okay, that's a better ending to the story. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, you have another question for me?
Yes. In context
Go
of in context of physics, according to Buddhist right view, is time and space a mere impression which arises from the cause-effect relationships between sets of events?
Time and space. You can know this from your own experience. Sometimes why the length of time is sometimes a lot to do with, your state of quietness, joy, happiness. Sometimes, I don't know how much meditation each one of you has done, but sometimes you can meditate perfectly alert. Mindfulness is very clear. And sometimes when you come out of meditation, it's been 3 or 4 hours, but just felt like just a few minutes. It's kind of weird, but that's true. Your length of time, or the way you kind of measure time inside, is distorted. And sometimes, it's not that you're falling asleep or anything, you're perfectly alert and awake. And sometimes that time loses its meaning. This is especially the case when you get into deep meditations, called like the jhanas. In those states, time's meaning is so distorted, you can sit there for days. And it's not like it feels like days. And it only feels like hours or minutes. So the way we deal with the perception of time is often measured by things which change. when things are so still for such a long time, perfectly awake, very alert, but time's meaning gets distorted. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. That's the other thing which I like talking about. But that's like kind of the deep meditation. Just in those deep meditations, and in some of the stories which I have collected over many years of monks who have got those deep meditations, powerful ones. And I was telling one of those monks to the group over in Perth this afternoon. The real stories, not fake. He was an Indonesian, and this Indonesian, he always wanted to meditate, not necessarily be a faithful Buddhist. He wanted to meditate, and he found a nice place in Java quite a few years ago when such places existed, undeveloped. He went to this kind of ravine, a nice quiet place in the bottom of the ravine, and he sat meditation there. And I love the way he described it to me. I do go visit Indonesia a lot, and when I visit Indonesia, there's many people respect me, and he mentioned to me about what happened to him. He said he sat comfortably, and the first thing which happened to him, once he got peaceful, was seeing this star come from above and into his mind. That's how he described it, a star. And the next thing he said, he married that star. And that doesn't make any sense to me at first, but English was his second language. And marrying the star meant he united with it. And then I started recognizing what he was talking about. In meditation, you get these phenomena called nimittas, created inside your mind. And if you unite with them, it's that nimittas are a precursor to the jhana. And when he said he married to them, that meant to me that he'd united with that light and entered into one of the jhanas. And that was obvious to me because just to look at him, he was a monk with immense power. And he wasn't a monk at the time. He became a monk afterwards. But he said that he was meditating in that forest for a long time, and about 8 days, and without moving. And when he told the villagers, they were really surprised he survived, because there was a flood in the bottom of that ravine. And that's why he did recognize the scenery of the ravine had changed enormously because of that flood. He didn't know what had happened. The villagers said, there was a big flood there. You were underwater for such a long time. That's what happens in those deep meditations. You don't need air. You're deep under the surface of the water. You're just existing because of that 5 senses have disappeared, only the 6 is left of the mind. It was a real jhana. And that's why it was the first time which I heard it's such a longer time. They usually say only 7 days. You can be without food, water or breathing. But this was 8 days. But anyway, he became a wonderful monk. Unfortunately, he's died now. And that's actually why I tell his name and tell the story in full. Because if I told that and he was still alive, how many of you would invite him over to Poland to ask questions of him? A real person that actually experienced these jhanas. Not only that, but the other story about him I like telling. I told it on Saturday afternoon in Nanamara. in Perth was that he was such a good monk, and I recommended him to one of my old friends who was a Thai princess, a granddaughter of one of the kings, to learn meditation from. And so she went every Saturday to their meditation class he was teaching in Wat Bhawan in Bangkok. And what stopped her going again was one afternoon in Wat Bhawan during one of the meditation classes. She felt that something strange was happening, and she opened her eyes, and she saw from this monk, his eyes were open also, and rays of light were coming out of this monk's eyes into one of the other meditators in the room. The real psychic powers, which do exist. But you know what happened next? I tell this story as a warning. Please, if anybody does develop real psychic powers, don't follow the example of this monk. Because this person was so well educated, this Thai princess. When she actually saw that, she got up. I don't think she even bowed, and she fled. Never went back again. These psychic powers, very few monks talk about. They're scary, the real ones. You think, no, you won't be scared. But you do get scared. It's one of the reasons why we have these rules. Please, please don't demonstrate these or show them to others. Even though you think, there's some benefit you can make. It causes huge amounts of trouble. And you can read that in the sutras as well. If you do have psychic powers, please hide them. If you show them off, people get terrified of you. Okay. Another question back?
How do I get over the guilt I felt after falling in love with a man while I was married to another man? And then my husband committed suicide, accusing me of cheating. How do I explain this to my teenage children?
I tell them that you made a mistake. A lot of times you don't fall in love and the power of that love immediately. Please, at least when it starts to happen to you, you realize this is really dangerous. And then walk away, step away. A lot of times that intensity of love is because of some past life karma you've got together. You've known each other before. Sometimes I don't know, have you seen that? There was this couple I recall, they came to one of my retreats and they said to me, look, we've, the same in other retreats, we can't keep too far apart from each other. And I try to keep them apart so at least they can have some space to contemplate. And they said, we tried that and it doesn't work. We'd known each other before, previous life. And they were almost inseparable. And I said, look, you can't really stay on a retreat and just be so close to each other and holding hands and things. Because that's going to sort of almost like allowing other people not to show restraint to one another. And they said, I remember him saying, she came, first time she saw me, she walked right up to me and knew my name and almost everything about me. There are weird things happen like that. And if that does happen, it's usually some past life where we were together before and something happened that it sort of split up our relationship for a while. But that's kind of an anomaly, that's not usual. A lot of times we're actually looking, for the enjoyments of another relationship. So we have to say no. If you've already got a partner, please keep faith with them. It's less suffering. It's not easy, but it's the only thing you can really do. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes.
Sometimes the other person they know things about you. And there's no other way they could actually know that. It's kind of weird. So if you're young and crazy, then okay, you can get together. But if it's for some reason or another, you'd rather not have a relationship, so keep apart. Okay, next question.
What is Ajahns first thought upon waking up in the morning?
I got into the habit, as soon as I opened my eyes, saying, "Good morning, me." I wish myself a happy morning. I got into the habit of doing that. And once I get out of bed, my first meditation teacher said, "What's the first thing you do once you're out of bed?" And I said, "You go to the toilet." I said, "Great. Is there a mirror in the toilet?" I didn't know where he was going with this. I said, "Yes, of course there's a mirror in the toilet." And then he told me, either just after you've been to the toilet, relieved yourself, or before, if you can, please look at your own face in the mirror. And say, get your 2 fingers. Can you do this, the ones on the screen here? That's right, the side of the mouth, and push up. Smile at yourself in the morning. And honestly, I was still a student at the time he taught me this. And I did it even after I finished being a student for 3 years. Every morning I would practice that. Smiling at my face, at myself in the mirror. Every morning for 3 years. So it didn't really matter what happened the day before. It's a beautiful way to start the present day, by smiling at your own self. I don't know why professional counsellors can't teach that. After a while, it changes the way you start your day, which is brilliant. Okay, next question.
The question, knowing that thoughts and emotions arise and pass away, how can we deal with those that arise suddenly and are very strong? What can we do in the very moment they appear? And there is some question about what with the emotions when the mind is overwhelmed by fear or terror, with this extreme panic.
Well, is there a reason for that panic? Is there somebody jumping up at you right now? Or is it just an emotional over-response to what you're experiencing? I'm asking questions of the questioner to get some more detail. Because I'd like to... Yeah, go on.
I guess this question is just about particular events happening in life when someone is experiencing extreme fear or panic, but there is no information whether there is or not a reason for that fear or terror.
Okay. If it's an unreasonable fear or terror, it might be kind of frightening, but it's not sort of... Most other people not be terrorized or so afraid at it. One of the nice things to do is being quiet, being peaceful, and not responding, learning how to restrain that mind which wants to respond overly, because usually that gets you into more trouble. Quite a few times in my life as a Buddhist monk, people have tried to frighten me. On one occasion, years ago here in Perth, when we were having a big ceremony, when we started our city centre, we'd invited the governor of Western Australia to come, and to my surprise he did come. And when we were getting everything prepared, I had to ring up the supplier of the party hire, the one who supplied the tents, the chairs and all the stuff to keep our invited guests happy and peaceful. And I was so upset that the chairs, there was not, for the chairs for the VIPs, there was not 2 chairs, not even 1 chair, which had legs of the same length. They'd given us rubbish. And so I called up the boss of the party hire firm and told her, what was real, what happened. We can't make use of those chairs. And she said, oh, there must be some mistake. I'll get them changed as soon as possible. And what had happened was that obviously they'd never respected us. And so the workers, she went to where they go after they finish work on Friday. Those workers, they went to the pub. They'd already started their weekend drinking. And they were called by their boss, please go back, the Buddhists want their chairs changed. And they were not happy. And so I was correct in asking them to come back and change all the chairs. But when the truck approached our temple in town, even before the truck stopped, the lorry stopped, one of those workers jumped out of the truck and came running towards us saying, who's the bloke in charge? I want the bloke in charge, with his fist up. I have to be honest. I went out to him and said, I am the bloke in charge. He'd just been pulled back to work, by the boss, because the Buddhists asked for the chairs to be changed. And he had been drinking. He was not happy. He put his fist in front of my nose, about this far, honestly. And he could smell the alcohol on his breath. Ever since I was a monk, that's the most alcohol I breathed in my whole life as a monk. He was not happy. He was about to punch me. How did I respond? Just like I'm responding to you, peacefully, quiet. I never replied. I never showed any fear because I didn't have any fear. I just looked at him. I never smiled. He would take that as some ploy to stop him. I just stopped and stared at him, peacefully. And I found that he could not respond. He was stuck there, fist up here, looking at me. Could smell his breath. And I also noticed that all of my helpers, I could see them from the corner of my sight. Not one of them tried to help me. They were always looking and saying, what's going to happen next? The most interesting thing they'd seen in weeks. I just stood there because I realized that even conflict, please I may use the wrong language here, needs foreplay. I just know I need to say back to him, Look, what are you talking about? I did nothing. And he'd say, well, you called us back again. They need to have an argument first of all. Yeah, you and who? You and who? They need to have like an anger exchange before you actually get to the fight. I knew that enough. I was not playing the anger game or the violence game. I just stood there quietly, not looking down on him, not looking from fear, just being peaceful. And I realized he could not do anything. It was like I had him in my complete power. He was stuck there. He didn't know how to make the next move, because I wasn't playing according to the usual rules of violence. And in that time, the truck, which was now parked, the boss came out and said, come on, we'll just change the chairs. And see, I'll come and help. There was no violence, because you realise violence takes foreplay before it actually happens. You don't have to try and be superior, or you don't have to try and be the boss. Just be peaceful, really peaceful, and it worked. Do you understand that?
Yes.
It happens, yeah, okay. Okay.
Ajahn, I have a question. Do you want to finish for today, or one more question and that's all?
Oh, one more question, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're bored.
My
If
younger
you're
daughter,
bored with it. Okay, go on.
my little daughter Wanda asks if you like cats.
Oh, yes. I do like cats. I used to have a cat whose name is not a very original sounding name, Kit Kat. And the Kit Kat, she was born here. She was feral. We didn't buy it or invite it in. It was actually born in a hollow log. She was so intelligent and lovable. But then when she stays in a forest monastery, there's so many other animals in this monastery, like birds and other little animals, which that cat kept on killing. It's just its nature. So one day, all the monks met together. We had to make a decision what to do about that cat. So it was decided we'd have to find a home for that cat in the city. And so one of our members volunteered to share her home with that cat. And it was me, who had to decide whether to accept that offer. Didn't really have a choice. There's other animals in the forest which had to be cared for. So I had a bag, and this was my cat. So he invited the cat to go inside the bag. It did. And I tricked it into going into that bag. When I closed the string at the top of that bag, I put it in the back seat of a car where your feet go, so it couldn't see anyway, could see through the window. And then from Serpentine, which is 60 or 70 kilometers south of Perth, without being able to see the journey, the cat was in that part of the car until it reached the home of this lady who was to look after it. And only when it got to that home did she take it out of the car, still in the bag, and then let it out of the bag inside her home. She was a very kind woman, and she fed that cat, looked after it for about 3 days. And after 3 days she thought it would get used to that house now and its new home. And so she let it out into the garden. And of course you know what that cat did. It ran so fast towards the garden gate, could actually fit through one of the holes in the garden gate, and ran down the street. And this lady could not catch it. So she went and got in her car and started driving around the suburbs looking for this cat. And eventually she realized She'd lost it. And so I was on duty in our Noramara city centre that weekend. So I received a call when she said, "I'm terribly sorry, Ajahn Brahm, I've lost your cat. 2 hours ago it ran to the garden gate and I could not catch it." And my response was, "No worry, it's with me now in Perth." That cat had never been in Perth in its life. We live 70 kilometres south of the centre of the city. How it did this, it never been in that city before. It was taken to this place called Waterman, about 7 or 8 kilometres to the west of where our city centre is. And in under 2 hours, that cat, running at top speed, ran all the way to Noramara, our city centre. He'd never been in the city before. And I heard it. I was standing by the front door at that time. Meow, meow. I heard something meowing at me. And I opened the door. I couldn't believe it. Many people said, "Oh yeah, your cat, it will walk all the way back to Serpentine." No, that's a long way. 70, 80 kilometres. 9 kilometres is much easier. And that's what the cat did. So I said, "No worry, Kit Kat is with me right now." That poor little cat, his feet was so hot because it was a really hot day in Perth. And it was so thirsty. He drank so much milk. And then it peed all over one of the cushions. That doesn't matter, what you've been through. And afterwards, I told the monks, "I'm sorry, but that cat now has to stay at the monastery." So we took it back to the monastery, and it lived there for many more happy years until it eventually died. And because of its story, everyone says if you love a cat, it's a special cat, but that really was. And so we buried it, when it died, under the Bodhi tree. That's where its body or its remains are. You got one over there, Agata. Yeah. So that's what happened with Kit Kat the cat. If ever you come over to Perth, we'll show you the story. It's kind of unbelievable. How can a cat 9 kilometres away in a city, he's never been there before, find me in under 2 hours, crossing a freeway as well. Don't know how it did that. With no maps, no GPS, wasn't a member of RAC, to call someone to help. Just ran by itself and appeared in under 2 hours. That earned its safety. And that's a weird story, but it's true.
I can take a cat with me to the monastery.
And it went to the monastery afterwards in a car, not running anymore. It earned its space there. But it never actually did that journey. That's too far away. Hi, little cat. So animals are much smarter than we ever think. Do you talk to your cat?
All the time.
It understands.
Yeah.
It certainly understands.
I read Dhamma to
So,
him.
excellent. A lot of times, other people say this, even you give a talk, and the cat sits there and listens. So anyway, that's what I've seen.
All right.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank you very much again.
Sadhu.
And
Sadhu.
Sadhu. Yeah, excellent. Great. Okay, and I apologise if anything I said which I didn't explain properly or which upset you, but I tried my very best to answer your questions as honestly and obviously as truthfully as I ever possibly can. And I'll see you again, if not beforehand, at least in November over in Krakow.
Yes, we're looking
Excellent.
forward to meet you and
Excellent.
have you there. Yeah.
Thank
Excellent,
you.
great.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ajahn.
Okay,
very
see
much.
you all.
Thank you, Ajahn. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.